Skirt, skirt. Told you we always been ready. I don't need people that's petty, that weigh on me heavy while I'm being steady. I need a record with Felly. We get it bouncing like Betty's, I feel like I'm Nelly. Don't bring the beef like a deli. It's leaving not Levy, no sleeping on me like I'm Freddy. Chris Breeze, how I do, hit him with the moves. Left hand step back, ballin' like I'm Coos. All faith, God's plan, you just gotta choose. God slaps, nothing left to prove. Y'all gotta leave me alone. Lately I've been in my zone. Told them no cap like a fitted, but lately the flows have been straight off the dome. I feel like I'm MVP, like my name Patty Mahomes. If it ain't about money, don't hit on my phone, cause lately I've been in my zone.
Hello, welcome to the Cowboys Show, hosted by Ben Carey and Nick Gronerad, combining expert human opinions with cutting-edge simulation models to help you arrive at the best picks each week. Inside Edge Community. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's stream. We have the first week of the NFL season where we have some buys. So we have less games than usual, only 11 games to go over today. 4 teams on a bye. Of course, off the top of my head, I don't remember what the 4 teams are. I know New Orleans has a bye. I know the Niners have a bye.
Falcons
have a bye.
And the Oilers.
Yes, the Oilers have a bye. That's correct.
I guess
Somebody else has a bye. Plus the Thursday game, plus the Monday game, which we're not going over today, plus the game that's going on in London right now. All that adds up to only 11 games to discuss on the stream today.
Props, Nick?
So more props, maybe. I mean, if we did picks and props for every game, it would be an 11-hour stream, and it would be completely useless. We'd still be going on the 1 o'clock games at like 8.
Yeah, we'd have to start at 2 a.m.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, hour a game. Yeah.
Yeah, I see we got T-Cherry here. We got Jack. Chungy's back. Glad to see you. Haven't seen you around in a while. Hope all is going well. So, are you ready to just hop into it, Ben?
I'm ready.
All right. So, game numero uno. We have the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts. Colts, I believe, biggest favorite of the week. 10.5-point favorites at home. Over-under in this game is at 44 right now. Been a little all over the place. It's moved up, and it's moved down, and it's moved back up. But 44 is the number that we have right now on this one. So right off the bat, throw the model score up. And we see that the model has Indy taking this game 26.8 to 22.2. So that's about a 4.5-point cover for Indy. So definitely has them winning, but not looking like a cover. We like, or model at least, likes Houston by about 6 points relative to the spread. And over-under-wise, the model's got a total of about 49. So on this 44 total, that's an over of about 5 points. So Ben, do you agree with the model? Disagree with the model?
I actually kind of agree with it. I mean, I think we actually did a pretty good job of handicapping this Texans team over the last few weeks from the standpoint that it wasn't necessarily an issue with Mills. It was just their play calling, right? And just getting him opportunities to show himself. And I think his first start, they didn't let him do that at all. We said it was basically like a preseason game where they're like, well, we want you to get in there, get some reps, and stay healthy.
Yeah.
And it's like, Coley, this is an actual game.
Yeah, I mean, and you've got actual talented players.
Yeah. So after that, then I think finally they're like, okay, now let's open the playbook. And now they're playing, decent football. I mean, they almost beat the Patriots last week. So
yeah, and Mills had a fantastic game.
He did. Yeah. So I think Mills is a guy who is serviceable enough that I think he can keep them in this game. And 10.5 is a lot of points in the NFL. And I just think the value has to be on Houston in this spot. Regardless of what the model is saying, I felt that way, but now we're getting alignment. So,
yeah, I completely agree. I think that Indy's getting way too many points here, or Houston's getting way too many points here. I'm not going to reiterate everything that you said. I completely agree. Mills is undervalued by the market right now. So we'll throw up Houston as a lean. As far as the total is concerned, obviously it was a little bit nicer to take an over when this was down at 43 earlier in the week. But I think at 44, I still like or lean the over here as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the two plays are correlated, Houston and the over. I think it's just a matter of Houston scoring more points than Vegas expects them to. I think the last time I looked, the team total for Houston was at 16.5. Yeah, still at 16.5. So we've got him at 22, and that's the entire difference in the spread and in the total.
Yeah, and with a healthy Colts team, primarily defensively, I would say, 16.5 may be a number that's tough to get, but they have a lot of concerns in the secondary with injuries. I think Yasin is out, and then Xavier Rhodes, I believe, is out. So I think they're going to be able to put up points. I mean, I think I might personally bet that over 16.5 because we've been talking about it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a good number.
Yeah, I agree. So game number 2, unless you have anything else to say about that one.
No. And if I have any props that I want to bring up, I'll let you know, but not in the first view, I would say.
Okay, yeah, I can talk about some of the prop leans that we had that didn't make the cut for official picks.
We didn't have any in this one, right?
No.
Okay.
So game number 2, Green Bay and Chicago. So Chicago, 5-point dogs at home. Total, again, set at 44. I think the key thing here is Chicago missing both of their top 2 running backs. David Montgomery is out, and who number 2 is Williams. There's like a trillion Williams.
I know.
And I mess up their first names.
Yeah.
But he's out. So rookie Khalil Herbert looks set to make his first career NFL start. He had a pretty good game coming in relief last week. He had, I think it was 18 carries for 75 yards. But that was against the Lions. And this Packers team is much better than the Lions. Also, I keep saying this, but I'm not a big Justin Fields fan, at least not yet. I don't think that at this moment Justin Fields has what it takes to consistently drive his team down the field and win games. The model in this one has the spread is basically spot on. Vegas has Chicago +5. Model has Chicago plus 4.98. So it's like technically a Chicago cover. Oh, I'm actually seeing a 5.5 now. So let me update that real quick. I just refreshed to see if it moved. I'm seeing a 5.5 as the consensus line now. But still, barely a Chicago cover, barely an over. I don't really have any strong opinions on this one.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
If Andy Dalton is starting,
Mm-hmm.
does that change your opinion on this one?
At these numbers, yeah.
It does? Okay.
It definitely does.
Interesting. Yeah. I guess I'm somewhat under the impression that you are too low on Justin Fields.
It's possible.
That makes sense. because it's the whole. And I mentioned this, I think in week 1 before this season even started, about these rookie quarterbacks where the upside is so high where it's almost like they're going to have positive regression, but it's not technically regression because, well, you know what I'm saying. It's like you can't look at what they did in college and expect that to translate over to the NFL, but they have enough upside that I think that has to be put into the equation. And I just don't think Justin Fields is going to be as bad as he's looked the last few weeks, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm still holding out opinion-wise on Justin Fields' long-term NFL prospects. But I think right now, I haven't seen a whole lot that makes me go, this is a guy that's going to win a team a game this week.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that regression towards being a more average NFL quarterback is going to come slowly over time. But when we talk about regression to the mean, like what is the mean expectation for this quarterback right now? It's not being an average NFL quarterback, I wouldn't think. Mm-hmm. And I really don't think that any of the rookies at this moment should have that expectation, because I don't think that any of them have really shown it.
Mm-hmm.
That comes with progression and learning over time, getting to that point. Not just like he's been unlucky and there's going to be a snap, and we should bet on that snap.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but at the same time, it's complicated. It could be a whole show on this.
Yeah, it could. But I mean, let's talk about it for a little bit. We've got time.
Yeah. So he looked better last week than he has all season, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he finally threw a touchdown pass last week.
Yeah.
So that's good. He's still completing 50% of his passes. He's still holding on to the ball way too long. He's still being sacked 16% of his dropbacks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just looking at his numbers.
He still has a completely unsustainably high yards per completion.
Mm-hmm.
And despite that yards per completion, I mean, he's still struggling to get his team into the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see anything from Herbert right now. I mean, until he proves that he can, not from Herbert, from Fields.
I was like, hey.
I've seen a lot from Herbert. That's good. But until Fields kind of shows on the field that he can correct those mistakes, I think it's a fool's errand to bet on those changes happening in any given week, because it's something that is going to take time. Are they correctable mistakes? Absolutely. Is it going to happen imminently?
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason for me to think it's going to happen this week as opposed to in week 10, as opposed to next year, as opposed to never.
So I do agree with you on that you shouldn't just bet it because you expect him to show up, right? You have to have more than that. You have to say, do I like what the Bears are doing defensively? Is there something else? If that's your number one handicap, no. Because you're kind of spinning the roulette wheel. Well, not you. The
proverbial general you.
Yeah. It's like, hey, can I spin this for? No, sir. That's frowned upon. You don't work here. But it's basically like saying, you're trying to pick red or black, right? And maybe even not odds of 50-50, maybe even worse.
I don't even think it's red or black. I think there's like 10 colors on the roulette wheel, and you don't even know what half the colors are. And you're still trying to make a bet on what color it's going to be.
Yeah. So, that's all I really have to say there. I don't really have any props, but we should mention though that David Montgomery is out.
Yeah, I did mention that.
You did mention that. Well,
are you watching the Jags game?
A little bit,
Ben, you gotta.
Nick, who is the backup again? The guy who I was like, who is this guy?
Ben, we went over all this already.
Okay, sorry, one more time.
Khalil Herbert.
Okay, that's right.
Turn the Jags game off.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, Khalil Herbert is
just,
the running back for the Bears.
London. I'm a big London guy, you know.
Yeah. So I think this is safe to put down as a fade spot. Long story short, this game. Between Fields and the running back injuries, we'll fade. So next
we're
up,
gonna have to fade this one.
yeah. So next up, we have Kansas City and Washington. Washington 6.5-point underdogs at home. Over under set at 54. So this is a game that was sitting at 7 for a lot of the week, but looks to have settled at 6.5 for Washington, which is kind of interesting because usually with the Chiefs, we see kind of the opposite happen. If it's sitting around a key number, they can keep it at that key number, and volume will still come in on the Chiefs. And if anything, it would push it to like the 7.5, as opposed to moving in the 6.5. But here, for the first time, we see the number move in the opposite direction. So Ben, I'm a little curious if you can find for us where the money is on this game. And then if we can kind of figure out somehow if that's money from when it was 7 versus 6.5 versus whatever.
Well, that's tough to determine that, but the way the public has been betting the Chiefs so heavily, I think a lot of this money has been at 6.5, and this, according to PointsBet, is showing 90% of the spread bets and 90% of the handle.
Wow.
Are on the Chiefs. Yeah, it's the biggest public play today.
Yeah, so that looks like I guess a little bit of reverse line movement there.
Yeah.
It's only half a point, but moving off of a key number by half a point is still a pretty significant move.
And I think this directly speaks to the Chiefs' defense.
Yeah, I could not agree more.
It's at this point, we know the Chiefs are going to put up points. We know Patrick Mahomes is going to do his thing, and I think that's pretty known. And of course, the defense, that should be known too. But it's almost like the public always just goes back to, well, Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Mahomes isn't playing defense, so.
Yeah, I completely agree. This all, I think Kansas City's whole season, in some sense, and when I say that, I mean also success in the playoffs, comes down to, can the defense get to a point where they can consistently make stops?
And Nick, real quick, 93% of the money at FanDuel, 92% at BetRivers, 90% at BetMGM.
Wow.
So it's not just PointsBet; it's basically across the board.
Yeah.
So if you're into conspiracy theories, just bet the other side.
Uh-huh.
So then you can't say it's rigged. I told you. We're telling you right now, if you think it's rigged, you bet Washington.
Uh-huh.
So there's no, you can't bring it up after the fact.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now.
Mm-hmm. This is like one of the biggest spots of the year for if you're a conspiracy theorist, you have to be on this side.
And get in those group messages on Reddit. I know there's the conspiracy groups. You tell everyone.
I mean, basically, sports betting discords are conspiracy groups at this point.
Yeah, they're micro.
Uh-huh. But yeah, 90% of the money coming in on the Washington football team. Or no, on Kansas City, not on the Washington football team. But the model, actually, shockingly, likes Washington to win this game outright.
Oh.
And again, I think that this is, by and large, because of Kansas City's defense, or lack thereof. Mm-hmm. They haven't been able to stop anybody. And Washington, the offense has, at times, looked pretty good. Taylor Heineke has had some good games. Antonio Gibson has had some good games. Terry McLaurin has had some good games. A lot of good games.
Playoff team?
Probably not with Dallas in the division,
Yeah, that division.
but Washington's a decent team, and the defense also I think is a little bit underrated at this point. They had a couple clunkers at the beginning of the year, and I think people were like, "Oh wow, Washington's defense is so overrated." But
I agree. The narrative flip-flopped, right? Where
yeah,
headed into the season, it was like, oh, Washington has a top 5 defense. And then after 2 games, it was like, oh.
yeah. But I think that it's a good. I mean, maybe not this game specifically a good buy low spot on Washington, because it does kind of feel like with this moving to 6.5, we're not really buying low on Washington. But I do think it's a good value spot for Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in the next couple of weeks, we're going to continue to see a little bit of value on the Washington football team. So spread-wise, since we have Washington winning by a little under half a point, and they're 6.5-point dogs, I'm going to go ahead and throw up Washington as a lean. As far as the total is concerned, Vegas total is 54. Model total is between 53 and 53.5, so like barely an under. I don't want to touch Kansas City totals in general, because it comes down to how well their defense plays mostly, and that's, I think, just something that I don't want to bet on.
Yeah, so I have a question about this total that the model is showing.
Yeah.
My guess would be that if you were to tell me that Washington was favored to win this game by the model, I would expect it to be maybe 31, 28, I guess pushing over the total. But it's not. Is the time of possession for the Chiefs actually something we should consider? Because I know we're always so used to them scoring at a fast pace, but do you think now that they're almost more focused on controlling the ball a little more, knowing that their defense is so bad?
Well, are they focused on controlling the ball?
I don't know. Are they?
I don't know. And also, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is out, so like
Oh, wow.
their primary ball controller is not playing. So Kansas City is in a bit of a tough spot, and I don't know, honestly, if a Washington cover correlates more with an over or with an under. So
I mean, maybe there isn't a correlation.
yeah, I kind of don't think that there is. So I think we fade the total here.
Okay.
So next up, we've got Minnesota and Carolina. So I have this super annoying. The sun is coming right through this window, and the shade is not dense enough to block out all the light. So my camera looks like super whitewashed, and I have a glare in my eye, and it's really annoying. And my dog is complaining behind me because
So blue.
she didn't poop on our morning W today. So she's upset now.
That one. And then you're like, well,
Yeah, like
you
why?
had your chance.
Yeah, I was like, look, you got to go now because I'm gonna be busy. I can't take you out.
Blue had the chance to poop when she could because she knew, and you have the chance to bet on Washington knowing it's rigged. So, boom.
Yeah,
Like that comparison?
I do. That's perfect. So next up, Minnesota and Carolina. Carolina, 2.5-point underdogs at home. No Christian McCaffrey. Placed on IR, out until week 9. Total set at 45.5. So on the Viking side of things, they're looking pretty healthy. Dalvin Cook is in. I guess that's the big thing.
I would say so. But Matson, he's looked decent. We were talking about that the other day.
Yeah, he has. He's been a more than serviceable backup over the last couple of years. I mean, Cook has had several spells where he's been out, and Madison has been good the whole time. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Someone in my fantasy league kept trying to offer me Madsen and selling pretty high on him, so I was like, eh.
Yeah. All right. So, model in this one has a lean towards at 2.5 points. It barely likes Minnesota, and at a total of 45.5, it barely likes the under. Minnesota is a team that has burned us a couple weeks in a row. Once on a cover and once on a total. I have a hard time trusting them right now.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel.
Yeah, I also have a hard time trusting Carolina as well. At the same time, no Christian McCaffrey. I think that the first couple games from Darnold were basically the best that he's capable of. I think that the market certainly last week, and I think still is a little bit too high on the Panthers just as a whole right now. So, gun to my head in this game, I'm going Minnesota. Probably lean the under.
I'm gonna go the other way. I'm gonna go with Carolina. I'm gonna go against the model.
Okay, that's fair.
I don't know. I wanted to think that Christian McCaffrey being out was such a hindrance to the offense, but at the same time, they do have some weapons, right? I mean, DJ Moore. I mean, Robbie Anderson hasn't really had any big games thus far, but he's such a big play threat, deep ball threat, and I could see him kind of showing up today. Again, this is gun to my head. I'm staying away. I'm not betting it, but that is how I feel.
All right, yeah. I'll go ahead and throw up a fade for this one as well. I think it's kind of too close to call. But one game that is not too close to call is the next one on the docket, which is the LA Chargers and the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens at home, coming off an OT win on Monday Night Football against the Colts. Favored by 3. Total set at 51. The model says not so fast. Model really likes the Chargers here, winning by more than 4.5 points outright. And as a Ravens fan, I agree. I think this is a good spot to take the Chargers plus some points.
Is this a WTF situation?
No, I mean, the WTF situation was on the WFT before.
Well, do you even know what the WTF situation is?
What the fuck is the model doing?
No, it's a wrong team favorite.
Oh,
Maybe
I don't,
not quite. Because if they're getting home field, they kind of have to be favorited by at least a point.
Yeah, I think that the Ravens should be favored in this game. But I think giving the Chargers 3 is too much.
Yeah, I actually think the spread should be closer to 1.5.
I agree.
Because I think on a neutral, this would be Chargers, as a 2-point favorite. I actually think that's fine. Maybe I'm overvaluing the Chargers a little bit, but if we were to maybe come to a consensus, maybe -1.
Yeah, I think regardless, I think that the Chargers are favored on a completely neutral site against the Ravens. You are definitely a big Chargers stan, but I'm with you here.
Yeah. Well, I like their coach.
Yeah. Wait, okay, so hold on. I'm going to backtrack for a second. In the Discord, you asked which of these teams has the better coach. Was that a serious question?
Yeah, it was.
I still don't believe that that's a serious question. You have a guy who's coached 5 games in his NFL career, and a guy who's won a Super Bowl.
Well, if you go off of the...
If you go off career winning percentage, then yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess I was talking more about this year.
You can't
not
judge
saying-
a coach like, oh yeah, he's coached 5 games, now he's the better coach.
Well, so far the season. I'm not saying he's a better
That-
head coach than Harbaugh in like his career. Of course, he doesn't have a Super Bowl.
I think that's a
I mean, what
that's
else?
a tick.
What else do we go off of?
You can't judge a head coach on 5 games.
You have to judge him off something.
Yeah, you have to wait, and then you make judgment.
Okay. Well,
Anyways,
anyway.
where were we?
Well, we
Larry
like
says
the
Tua
Chargers, obviously.
did Tua do something?
Tua is so bad. Well, that's no surprise there. He probably threw an interception, I would guess.
Probably. Larry, let us know what Tua did.
Everyone just left, and they're like, "I gotta go see what Tua did."
Uh-huh. But yeah,
I think the Chargers, though, defensively have stepped up. I also kind of lean under in this one.
yeah. I like the Chargers for sure. So model says under by a little over a point. But that scares me a little bit. I think I want to fade the total. I think that so the Chargers do an excellent job chewing clock.
Mm-hmm.
We've been screwed on some overs and some player props with the Chargers just because the other team doesn't have the ball a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, Baltimore's done a really good job scoring efficiently this year.
Yeah. I guess another factor in my thinking, was the Chargers, the way they've been milking the clock. I think, but they're so efficient offensively. So it's kind of a double-edged type thing, but
Yeah. So next up, also, I want to move through this kind of fast because Blue is like in pain behind me.
I mean, I could
She's
take over if you
straight
want
up
to take her
not
out.
having a good time. Okay, yeah.
I could take over for like 10 minutes.
Okay, yeah. I'll take the dog out. Nothing on the screen is gonna update because I'm in control of that. But yeah,
I could kind of recap the.
no, you just start
keep going?
from the Cincinnati Detroit game. I know you have
Okay.
some things to say about that one.
Oh yeah, I do have some things. All right, I'll take it. Go take care of Blue, and I'm the captain now here. So, alrighty, in my my best Nick impression. So we have the Cincinnati Bengals on the road against the Detroit Lions. Detroit 0-5, baby, 0-5. Did they get their first win today, guys? Because I actually think they have a chance to, and I'll tell you why. But let's pull up the model score. I think this was one of those that I was a little surprised on, but actually, let's see here. So the model has this as a 25-24 game with the Lions winning. Yes. The model likes the Lions. So my thing with the Lions, guys, is 0-5, right? I mean, you can't be any worse than that. But I do believe that they're a better team than 0-5, if that makes sense. You know, Jared Goff, he's had flashes. But I think the biggest problem with that offense is a lack of talent because they have Swift, they have Jamal Williams. I really do believe it's just the continuity offensively and just getting guys on the same page. So I actually think that the Lions are in a pretty good spot to get maybe a cover, of course, at 3.5. But I think they can get their first win. What that the Lions are going to get their first win? Yeah, and guys, look, if it wasn't for a Justin Tuck, 63-yarder, they win that game. So, it's a tough one. The model, again, has this as a 25-24 win, and it likes the over in this spot, which I don't know if I necessarily agree with on the over because, well, I think if Detroit covers this, it's going to have to go under, but the model showing 24-25 with the cover and it going over. Dan Campbell. I mean, it seems like his players like to play for him, but I think Nick and I like the lean for the Lions. I'm not sure if we are in consensus on that. So we might have to wait to say officially if this is a Cowboys lean because I don't know if Nick is on board with the Lions. I know he was, but I think he's off the shit. So, but I'm curious to those of you in the chat. If you like the Lions, well, first let me know if you like the Lions plus 3.5. 2, do you think the Lions have a chance to win? Because if you look at the numbers that I'm showing from a betting perspective at the books, they're not getting a lot of love. Cincinnati is getting around 75% of the bets and money. So it looks like the public is basically, I would say they're not in love with the Bengals. It's more a play on the fade of the Lions necessarily. So that's my thinking there with what I'm seeing from PointsBet and their handle. But we'll see. I mean, this is one of those spots where it's interesting because it seems like that's a lot of subjective handicapping, but our model does agree. So Cincinnati has the Tiger King. I don't know exactly what that means. I know Tiger King. Are you just saying because they're the Bengals? Trying to think if there's any props I like in this one. I don't think there is. No, I didn't have anything I liked in this one. So, does anyone like the Lions, or am I just by myself in that one? All right, let's move on to the next game. Oh, you're right, LSU. There you go. So we have the LA Rams taking on the New York Giants. This game in New Jersey. Always weird to say. They do not play in New York, but they play in New Jersey. And I am showing the current total and spread. Let me just double check this. Wow. This definitely shot down. This was closer to 9.5. And it moved because Daniel Jones was announced in. So, yeah, I am showing 7.5. Pretty much a consensus across the board. 49 is the total in this one. Let me pull up what the Capwise model says about this one. This has a final score of 26-23 with the Rams winning. Total right at 49. So very, very much in line with the Vegas total. And the Giants are in interesting spot because Daniel Jones is back, but I've made this point before, and it's really hard to tell from our vantage point how healthy a player is coming back from concussion protocol. And the reason why I say that is because, look, if you have a sprained ankle and you're hobbled out there, right? If you're a wide receiver, yeah, that affects you. With a concussion as a quarterback, I know it sounds silly, but what if Daniel Jones isn't, quote unquote, 100%, right? If Daniel Jones was 80%, and I told you this about his concussion, would you bet the Giants?
Yes.
You would.
I didn't hear anything you said. I just heard, would you bet the Giants? I just got back.
I'm making my my case about the quarterbacks coming back from a concussion protocol.
So what was the crux of your point?
Well, you don't really know if they're 100%.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Could not
are
agree
you
more.
willing to bet bet a team? And I said if you knew a quarterback was only 80%, like I guess healthy coming back from a concussion, I wouldn't touch it.
No, I wouldn't touch it either.
He's got to be 100. So
Yeah, and you don't know if 80% is worth -1 point or -5
Yeah.
points or whatever.
and I don't even know if he's 80. He could be 100, but no one knows except maybe him and his doctor. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that was my point there.
Okay, so this Rams-Giants game, I'm assuming, is going to be a fade spot?
That's going to be a fade. And then if we go back to the Lions, I like the Lions plus 3.5, but I said we got to see what Nick says about that one.
I agree.
I already bet it, so I'm locked in on that one.
So on the model side, the model actually has Detroit winning that game outright. Quite a few upset picks this week for the model. But it's got Detroit winning by a little bit more than a point. I mean, we've been a little high on Detroit for a team that's been so bad. But I think that they're kind of there. Like, they're close, at least. I think they're close. And I think
They
Cincinnati's a good team to try and put it all together against.
Larry did make a good point. We have said that a few. But I did say they lost a game by a field goal, so that's 63-yarder. So
Yeah, and I think with an outright win on a Detroit losing by 3, I think that's good. I mean, and let's not forget Cincinnati's they've been in overtime twice this year, and also had a third game that they won on a game-winning field goal as time expired. So they're playing a lot of close games. They're just a couple bounces away from being like 1-4. So I think Detroit plus 3.5 is a great spot.
I agree.
So there's that. Real quick, model score for the Rams-Giants has the Rams by only about 2.5, a little more than 2.5. Although, like Ben said, with the concussions, I think it's a fade spot.
Also, Tony.
Yeah.
Darius Tony. He was questionable because he acted the fool and punched someone with their helmet on.
Yeah, do we have a final injury report on Tony? Probably. So let me
You know
look.
what's silly about that is, like, that fucking hurts.
Yeah, oh, actually, so Tony also had an ankle injury. So that's what was making him questionable, but he's playing.
Okay, he's in.
But yeah,
Nick,
Barkley, Slayton, Galladay all out for the Giants. But that was all expected.
I just wanted to say, Nick, back in the day, like when I was blocking as a wide receiver and I even hit someone in the helmet or in the face mask, that shit hurt. So I could just imagine a full knuckle sandwich to a helmet. Like, that's literally like if you punched a asphalt concrete wall. So
Yeah.
anyways, not smart. Control your angle.
Control your angle when you punch somebody in the face, okay? Or else you're gonna get hurt.
Punch someone with the helmet on, maybe do the uppercut method. Yeah.
There you go. Boxing 101 from Ben.
We don't condone violence around here, but
speaking of violence, next game, Arizona and Cleveland.
Wind is going to be violent today.
Yes, the wind is going to be quite violent. So this game right now, Cleveland is a 3-point favorite at home. Total is sitting at 48.5. I think that this opened up it was up at 54.5 on Monday, and has dropped by 6 points all the way down to 48.5. And Ben, what is the reason for that?
The wind.
Yeah, so I'm pulling up full weather report for Cleveland. So this is an afternoon game.
Ooh, you know what would be fun, Nick?
But we're looking at like...
Pull up Wind Finder, and then they have like the live like winds on the map.
Oh, but I mean, that doesn't matter. We care about what's happening in a couple hours.
Well, no, you can control the whole...
Well, either way, we've got 20-mile-an-hour winds forecasted for Cleveland. 20-mile-an-hour winds going on right now in Cleveland. It's gonna be gusty. Do you want me to pull it up on the stream?
Yeah, I have it on my screen if you want to take me out, or you could just do it on yourself.
Can you post a link in the chat?
Yep.
And I can...
Oh, wait, hold on. I gotta...
We can all take a meteorology course together.
Yep. Yeah, because we're weather experts here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's 9 a.m. So you have to move to... What time is the game?
It's at, like, 2 our time.
So 4...
This is way too complicated.
What? You just click. Click the stadium.
I don't see the stadium.
Maybe you're seeing something different than I am.
I see, like, Cawker City Airport.
Well, I see First Energy Stadium, but I'm in kilometers.
Okay, yeah.
Anyways, it's gonna be windy.
Yeah, long story short.
But Nick, the angle stat that I brought up, I thought was very interesting, right? About these wins. And we'll just put it this way. Long story short, if you are willing or want to take advantage of a wind trend, you have to do it initially off the number, because if you're playing catch up after the line moves, it's not a profitable bet long term. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, I think the market does a good job in this day and age adjusting for the wind.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the stats that you posted said that when there's a game with like a 10-mile-an-hour wind or higher, if it gets bet down, if the total gets bet down by at least a point, which this one obviously did, it got bet down by 6 points, then the totals are basically 50-50. But if they don't get bet down, so this is even different from getting it early versus getting it late. It's just, does the line move or not? But if the line doesn't move, then the unders are like 65% or something.
Yeah, which makes sense, right? Because it's basically saying that you're getting this win factor and the market hasn't even accounted for it. So that makes a lot of sense. I do want to bring up, though, Nick, that the move also maybe initially was because of the win, but also Cliff Kingsbury is out.
And Nick Chubb is out.
And there's a lot of rumors about Kyler Murray's shoulder. So there's
Is
a
his
lot.
shoulder out?
Well, maybe it was, and they popped it back in place. So there's a lot of stuff going on in this game. For me, I lean under, but also maybe I lean under at 54. Right?
I think you leaned under at 54. I think if you still lean under here, you're kind of just, you would bet this under if it dropped by another 5 points also. Which I mean, maybe that is the way that you feel. But
I mean, I still lean under.
It feels like one of those, you have your lean before you see the number because of the weather type deals.
Yeah.
In fact, I know that's what it is because we were talking about it way earlier in the week.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, potential big day for Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
I think his rushing yardage number was at like 87.5. I mean, he's certainly a guy who's proven that he can carry a big workload before. I mean, he had one of the better rookie seasons a back has had in a long time in Kansas City.
Yeah, he's going to be ready to go. I actually don't even downgrade Chubb being out, which sounds crazy.
Yeah, the only issue is, I guess it takes Hunt a little bit, at least, out of the passing game. Because they're going to have to bring in... Who's the third guy? His name starts with a K.
Kyle.
It's not Kyle. It's like Kaderil or something. Why?
20 and a half.
I'm struggling with these names.
20 and a half rush attempts for Hunt. That seems like a lot.
Oh, it doesn't start with a K at all. It's Demetric Felton.
Yeah, that's what I said. 20
I must
and a half,
have
though, real quick.
not paid attention for a second. Yeah.
I like that under. I think that's inflated. And I actually like that.
Is that inflated? That kind of feels pretty reasonable to me.
I would say 18 was going to be more of a number that I would guess.
I think there's a lot of question marks just because of how much is Felton gonna play. Like if they give Felton a bunch of snaps, then Hunt definitely goes under. That
And
carries.
also,
total.
if the wind is like insane, right? It could turn into one of those games where they just, it's third and 5. Well, I shouldn't say third. Like a 3rd and 8, they're just like we're just gonna run it, right?
Yeah. But so Cleveland, they do give the ball to their backs a ton.
Mm-hmm.
So against Kansas City in week 1, the backs had 21 carries. Week 2 against the Texans, the backs had 24. Week 3 against the Bears, the backs had 34 carries. Week 4 against the Vikings, their backs combined for 35 carries. And last week against the Chargers, their backs combined for 33. So, I mean, if they're giving the ball to the backs 30 times on the ground today, I mean, Hunt definitely goes over that number. Chubb has gone over 20 and a half the last 3 weeks. That's a lot of carries to go around.
That's true. Yeah, I think it's an angle where you probably should just stay away because there's that uncertainty. Like, how much does this guy actually see the ball?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that all of the Hunt stuff, like you were saying, is inflated. So I personally think that this is a fade game. I think the win does generate a lot of uncertainty.
It could be a good, man, I always say this is so cliche to say, but a live opportunity, I guess.
Yeah, although I think with weather, those are good live games because you can really get a good understanding of how the weather's affecting the game. If it looks like it is really having a significant negative effect, then a live under.
Yeah, and it's
is
almost like
good. Or
I've been. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, or like if it looks like the weather's not having much of an effect, then a live over could be a good look.
And I've been picking this up throughout the years with wind. The gusts actually do have a lot to do with it, because if you're getting those gusts pretty frequently throughout the game, you see those where those field goal kicks just literally, the ball's going straight and then it just goes to the left or right, and the same would go with a pass attempt too. So it's hard to say how much it's going to affect, and also like within the stadium too. So there's a lot going on. So I think maybe the live play here, considering the move of 5 points,
6
off
points
the total, 6 points.
5 points off opening, and it went up before it went down.
Imagine that guy. He's like, ooh, 56, baby.
Imagine it hits. Imagine that over hits. Like you had the worst CLV imaginable.
Yeah,
But you still hit.
Take that, CLV
Yeah.
lovers. Boom. The best is with the people who hate closing line value, like literally don't give a fuck at all on Twitter. If they have they get bad CLV, and they all always like, take that.
Yeah, that's me.
So funny. I would.
Except
actually,
I
you
don't
do-
always get bad CLV. I don't really care about it.
But I would say that if you price shop, then you do care about it.
That's true.
Somewhat.
Anyways, next game, the Las Vegas Raiders, now without John Gruden, against the Denver Broncos here in Denver. Denver favored by 5. Over-under set at 44. First thing, 5 feels like a lot.
It does. It does. I think that 5 is indicative of the news to Gruden being out.
Yeah.
I honestly think that this would have settled at 3 if there was no anything, right? Like it was a normal situation. No emails, no whatever. He was there, all was peachy. I think this would be around 3, maybe even 2.5. Sounds crazy.
I think that sounds reasonable.
Because, I mean, what has Denver really done over the last 2 weeks that makes you feel confident, right? This is a play on the Raiders and what's going on with them. Then it's a play on what the Broncos are doing, if you like the -5.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think from a football perspective, it almost might be better for the Raiders that Gruden isn't coaching them.
I've told people that. I don't think it's a hot take either. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so their game plan the last couple of weeks has been terrible. So Josh Jacobs missed a couple of games, and then he came back, and Gruden was like, okay, we're going to give Jacobs the ball 20 times today. Doesn't matter if those 20 carries are good or if they're bad, he's going to get them. And I think that Jacobs is kind of washed.
Mm-hmm. And he's hurt too.
Yeah, he's some combination of hurt and washed. But he's not an effective player right now. He's not somebody that it's good for your team to give him the ball 15 or 20 times in a game. And I think that with special teams coordinator Bisaccia coming in, I think Derek Carr gets a little bit more autonomy in calling the offense. And I think that that's going to lead to a more effective offense from the Raiders.
Mm-hmm. And we're either going to be the smartest people on Twitch, or, yeah, I guess we're on Twitch right now, or we're going to be off on this, but I do believe that you're 100% correct. We talked about this, that having the new coach in, I think it lets Derek Carr just kind of air it out and do his thing. And I think for them right now, that's the best thing that could happen for their offense. Yeah,
I mean, the games that they've won with Derek Carr, like he was leading the league in passing or something after 3 weeks, and they're 3-0, and then they switch to the run game, and they lose.
They have weapons. I mean, they have, I think, one of the best tight ends okay, whatever, top 3, top 5, whatever you want to say. Brian Edwards is a super underrated wide receiver. They also have Hunter Renfrow out of the slot, who's been cooking people. And Henry Ruggs actually has finally kind of showed up. And then they run the ball to Jacobs every other play. It's
first down, 1 yard carry. It's just idiotic play calling.
Nick, here's a little bit of a hot take. It almost feels like it's the Chiefs if the Chiefs were to just to run the ball every other play. And you're like, what are you doing? I know Derek Carr is not Mahomes.
I get what you're saying though. It's like a slightly toned down version of that.
Yeah, where you're just saying like, hey, why don't you throw it? And then when they're down, you're like, oh, wow, that's working well. And I know it's not always that easy, right? Because maybe you're trying to set up the run, right? But at the same time, there's got to be that happy middle where you're not just, oh, we're gonna establish that run game for the first quarter or two. Yeah, for what? To go 3 and out?
Yeah, we're gonna establish that we can beat our heads against a wall.
Yeah, it's like what is the point? First of all, let's ask ourselves, why are we establishing the run? Like, yeah, that's a good point. We want to win the game. Okay, that's the objective. How do we get there, right?
Yeah, I think it sometimes coaches lose sight of the fact that you can use the pass to establish the run.
Yes.
Like, I'm not suggesting abandoning the running game. I'm suggesting start out with plays that are effective.
Yeah.
And then once those are accounted for by the defense, then you can expand the playbook, as opposed to the other way around.
Yep. So maybe we're speculating a little bit on what's going to happen offensively, but I feel good, and I also feel good because the Broncos right now, their defense has just been a little spotty. They've been giving up big plays. They have the talent, but I think the Raiders getting 5, Nick?
Yeah, it feels like too many points.
Like a lot. Yeah.
So I think we're in agreement. We can throw down the Raiders to cover.
Yeah, I will say I did like the Broncos at 3.5, but not any higher. But 5 is just too many points.
Okay, and what about the total? So the model has us at 49, a little over 49.5. So it's an over by 5.5 points.
I'm right on the fence.
I mean, if we think that the Raiders are going to have an offensive renaissance today, 44 feels like a low ass total for that.
What are the Broncos going to?
I think the Broncos are good for 21 to 24 points a game.
What was that team total for the Raiders again?
Team total for the Raiders is
like 20.
19.5, but like a big juice on the over.
How big?
Minus 130.
It's not terrible.
It's not terrible, but it's juiced. Also, I'm seeing that this might be a 44.5 now. No, I still see 44 as consensus. Okay. But there are books that are offering 44.5 and not 44.
That 19.5 is tempting, Nick.
Yeah, that feels pretty good. So are we gonna roll with the Raiders, just the Raiders, or the Raiders and the over? Lean wise.
Let's do the over.
Okay. Wait, just the over?
That.
Or Raiders and over?
Hold on, let me think about this.
I'm putting down Raiders and over. Executive decision.
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
Next up, we have Dallas and New England. New England, 3.5 point favorites at home. Total set at 50.5. So, Dallas looks like one of the better teams in the league. I think that they are a team that has done an excellent job over the course of a couple games, establishing both the run and the pass as offensive threats.
I just want to say, check the tape on all my Cowboys love throughout the offseason. Dak Prescott.
Yeah, we had Dak Prescott S tier in our preseason MVP bets tier list.
I'm going to argue with people, and then I'll be like, did you have him as an S tier? They're going to be like, what are you talking about, sir? You need to leave the bar. So Cowboys, they're looking great. But Nick, I'll tell you what.
What?
Does this feel trappy? Just,
I mean,
what do you feel?
The line feels trappy. I mean, I feel like Dallas should be more than 3.5 point favorites.
Right.
So from that perspective, it definitely feels trappy.
Mm-hmm. What Patriots team are we going to get today? Do we get the Patriots team of last week or the Patriots team of the 2 weeks ago? What was that? The Bucks, right? When almost beat the Bucks at home.
Yeah, I mean, so I think a consideration with that Bucks game is there was huge weather impacts that I think affected the Bucks quite a bit more than the Patriots. But yeah, so Model has this one at 25.39 to 21.99. So it barely, by a little under half a point, likes the Cowboys to cover. Mm-hmm. Likes the under quite a bit. Under by about 3.5 or 4 points.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels trappy.
It really does. And Nick, a lot of people who I do respect, who are decent NFL handicappers, they're on the Pats here. For what it's worth, again.
Yeah.
It's just one of those plays where it almost feels like if you were to not know any of that, right? Like, who was on what side? I guess what I'm getting at it, sometimes with like where the money's at and the sharps, I think sometimes it, and you will totally agree with this, it just clouds your thinking, right?
Yeah. And I don't care about any of that stuff. Like you said that there's some people that you trust and respect that are on the Patriots side, and I'm like, okay, cool.
That's not going to change your thinking on this game.
No, it doesn't impact my thinking at all.
100%. So it just is interesting because other than it feels trappy, I would lean Cowboys, right? Like,
yeah. And I honestly, I think it feeling trappy almost makes me like the Cowboys more. Right? It's like reverse trapology.
That's a good one.
I think that there was what was it? It was the Bills game earlier this year, coming off the loss against the Steelers. I think that was the last game that felt this trappy. That was another Bills minus 3.5 against the Dolphins, and they won that game by like 40 points. I think
money though, Nick. I know you don't care about this either. But
I don't care.
Cowboys are getting all the love.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I could not care less.
Well, I know some people in the audience, they care about that, so
yeah,
want to be respectful.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. Nick, I want to fade.
Okay, I'm happy to throw up a fade. We can do that.
Yeah.
I won't try and talk you out of that.
What about the total? Anything there?
No.
High total.
It is a high total. I lean under with the total, but I think it's a fade spot. What actually might be interesting would be a Patriots team total under. Never mind.
24.5?
It's at 21.5.
What do you show the Cowboys at?
27.5. So we're looking at, I mean, it's because of key numbers.
Yeah, it is. We've noticed that.
So, I mean, in order to get the actual implied team totals from the spread and the total, you're looking at like a 27.5 to 24.
Oh, yeah, it's 23.5.
Or like a
27.5, 23.5.
27.5, 24.
24, yeah. Well, that would be 51. 50.5.
Oh, yeah. So 27 and a 23.5. Yeah. So the Cowboys team total is over that number. The Patriots team total is under that number by a couple points. So I think that is actually kind of what makes this feel so trappy.
Right.
Like, even from a not taking anything from the game itself into account, it's just that the key numbers don't match up. Like, the spread and the total just don't work.
Yep, I agree. Larry, save your money. Bet it on that Nevada first half. I'm just kidding. That was a low blow. I'm just fucking with you. He was very adamant about that play last night, though.
Yeah.
Any props, Nick?
Any props in this one? No.
We kind of lied to the people. We said we were going to talk more about props.
Yeah. So we can
sorry,
wrap back
mean.
around. We can wrap back
That was
around
mean,
and we can
Larry,
touch
I'm
on
sorry.
props and we can bully Larry a little more.
Larry's whole day is going to be ruined now.
No, Larry's going to have a great day. He's going to win a lot of bets. He's going to have a nice day with his family. But you know who's not going to have a nice day?
Big Ben.
Anybody who has to watch this Seahawks-Steelers game.
Well, it's the primetime game.
It is. It's the primetime game, sadly.
Oh,
Pittsburgh.
Sorry. One last thing, Nick. I just want to say, betting a first half line and then when they cover the full game is like the worst thing. I've done
Yeah,
before.
I hate
Anyways.
all that stuff. Just give me full game.
Sorry, okay. Let's talk about this beautiful game with Geno Smith and Big Ben, two of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Seahawks going on the road to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh favored by 5 points here. That feels insane. I know Geno Smith is starting for Seattle and not Russell Wilson. And Chris Carson is also out for Seattle. But still, I don't think Pittsburgh should be favored by 5 points against anybody.
Nick, I like Seattle.
Yeah, Geno Smith didn't look bad. I mean, it was kind of garbage time. I think the defense gave him some throws last week.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't look bad. I mean, and he's a guy who's started for several years in the league. He's like a somewhat proven commodity. In that he's not a great quarterback, but he's not terrible.
I want to make the comparison to a few guys we've touched on. If we talk about, well, you may not agree with this comparison, but like Justin Fields. In my eyes, Justin Fields could be a 3-point detriment to his team, or it could be +3. I almost feel like Geno Smith is just he's just consistent enough where he doesn't have like a lot of variance, if that makes sense. Kind of hard to explain.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's less of a wild card.
Yeah, he's not going to turn the ball over, I think, in ways that maybe other rookies would. He's going to be conservative, and I think that just naturally is going to help the Seahawks cover this, in my opinion. And the model likes the Seahawks.
Yeah, Model agrees. Model knows that Geno Smith is starting this game for Seattle. And it likes them to win by a little under a point. Do I think Seattle's going to win outright? Maybe, maybe not. Wouldn't bet on it. But I think Seattle +5 feels pretty good.
Juju's out. Not that that's really made a difference as of late.
Steelers have a million receiving options.
Juju was the number one guy 2 years ago. Last year went to 2, and now.
Yeah, well, I mean, they moved him to the slot.
Yeah, but I don't know. He focused on TikTok too much.
Yeah, that's probably the issue. And not the fact that Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson are both excellent receivers.
Huh?
I think being number 3 behind those two is not an insult.
I mean, he was drafted, what? Top 10?
No.
First round, right?
Juju Smith-Schuster was drafted 62nd overall, 30th pick of round 2.
Never mind. Why did I think he was drafted so early?
I don't know.
Maybe I'm the one who overhyped him.
Oh, I mean, he was excellent his rookie year.
That's what it was. He had a breakout season. Yeah, and he started as he was 20 years old too.
Yeah, I mean, in his second season, he had 111 catches for 1,400 yards. Like,
Yeah,
that's a really good season.
Yeah, he was drafted 20 years old when he was drafted too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, maybe I need to be nicer to him.
Yeah, I mean, and last year he still had 97 catches for 830 yards and 9 touchdowns. Like, that's a very respectable season for a number 3 slot receiver.
Yeah, that is.
It's not like he's bad. He's just being utilized differently.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that Juju could be a great kind of post-hype breakout player if he gets put back on the outside on whatever other team he plays on, because I'm assuming he's not going to re-sign for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, T-Cherry makes a good point, because in 2019 he was the number 1 guy, and he had only 552 yards. Well, I guess 12 games.
Yeah, 2019 was bad.
Anyways, he's out. But the guys who are in are solid. It's just, can Big Ben actually have a game like he did against Denver? I don't know.
I really don't know either. I think this is either a Seattle +5 or a fade.
Mm-hmm. I'm fine with the +5, Nick.
All right. And as far as the total is concerned, I definitely want to fade that. Model has it as an under by under half a point. I think there is a little bit of variability in the quarterback play. Either one of them could have an excellent game and push it over, or they could both suck and it goes way under. This could be like a 17-14 type of game, or it could be like a 27-30 type game, and I wouldn't be surprised either way. That's how I feel about the total.
Agreed. I think I'm staying away from that.
Yeah, so I guess that wraps up the discussion of the games. You want to talk about some prop leans that we had? Since we said we were going to do that?
Let's go through the leans that didn't make the cut.
Yeah, leans that didn't make the cut. So I had 2. I had a Cole Kmet under 24.5 receiving yards. That was just a combination of the fact that he's missed that number 4 straight games. And I'm not a big believer in Justin Fields. Plus, the Packers have defended non-elite tight ends quite well this year. Although the reason that we didn't take it was just some uncertainty revolving around with Montgomery and Williams being out. Maybe Kmet gets a little bit more volume in the passing game.
Yeah. And I think that was ultimately why it didn't make a official play.
Yeah. And the other lean that I had that didn't make the cut was Kirk Cousins under 261.5 passing. And the reason that was under consideration is the fact that the Panthers' pass D has been quite good. I think they've held 3 quarterbacks this year under 200 yards, including Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts the last 2 weeks. So they I mean, they're playing quite well, but there's just something about it felt off. I don't think there was like a specific stat. It was just, it gave me a little bit of an uneasy feeling, despite me also liking it.
Yeah.
And Ben.
For me, I liked Adam Thielen over 48.5 yards, I believe it was at.
Yeah.
And my thinking was, it was twofold, but of course, him being due is part of it, and I think that's why I ultimately didn't play it. But
I will never let Ben play anything officially if the argument is he's due.
That wasn't my only argument, okay? But a lot of it was with Gilmore potentially being on Justin Jefferson and Thielen just being, more included in the offense. But I just think that he's going to hit it, Nick.
He's due?
He's due.
He's due like Robert Woods was due?
Well,
yeah, he was. He just...
He really was due. It wasn't that game.
Yeah.
So. But, yeah, and then the other one, what was the other one? Oh, Kyler Murray rushing, but that was that. No, don't even touch that.
Yeah, I think we went through that one, and there was like a lot of red flags.
Yeah, and also Nick, I think it makes sense that if there is a lot of wind, I think naturally you would be like, well, maybe you would have a guy like Murray run the ball more, but I think it's almost.
I think it's the opposite.
Yeah, because they're not going to be passing as much and less time to scramble.
Mm-hmm.
So,
of all of the things that we do have, what is going to be your favorite bet of the day?
It's a really good question. How about you start?
How about I start? I need to think for a second.
Yeah, I got to think about this.
Dolphins about to lose to the Jags.
Good.
I mean,
we were pretty close to giving out Jags as an official play, but it's just.
How's Chenault doing? Chenault's at 33.
Wow. He's had like 10 targets.
He's had 8 targets.
Felt like 10.
He's at 4 catches.
Damn, so he hit his reception.
Yeah, the reception's his hit.
Well, they have the ball, so.
Let's go.
Trying to think of my favorite play today, though.
Yeah. I might not have like a favorite play. It was a kind of tough week. We only had we had 2 game level plays and we had 3 prop plays that we gave out officially. I don't want to just give out both of the game plays because that's
I already gave out the prop.
Okay. Well, what's your prop that you gave out? Is it the?
Yeah.
I think I know which one it is.
Yeah, I just want to see what the current number is at.
Okay.
All right. Okay, cool. So my favorite play of the day. Let's see here. Favorite play of the day: Darren Waller over 58.5 receiving yards.
And why is that?
There's a few reasons. One, Denver has just been terrible against tight ends. And I think at this point it's not random or coincidence. I do believe it is because Vic Fangio, who runs the calls and runs the defense for the Broncos, also their head coach, really believes in the philosophy of pressuring the quarterback. So a lot of times you get situations where linebackers are blitzing and then tight ends like Waller get one-on-one coverage. And if Waller's one-on-one, I'm probably taking that almost every time. And you're going to see that a lot. And I think the second part of that is what we mentioned earlier. I really think Carr's going to air the ball out quite a bit in this one. So opportunity-wise, I think Waller's going to see 7 or 8 targets today. And I'm going to say around 5 catches for 68 yards.
Yeah, I think that sounds totally reasonable. So I had a question in the chat from Queen Row Tom. What was the score on the overseas game? So we started the stream at halftime of that game, so it didn't really make much sense to put it up, but we had it at like basically 26-26.
Also, I think Chenault just hit his over.
Let's go.
It was the last play of the fourth quarter, too.
Nice.
Yep. As long as he doesn't have a negative 6-yard. Nick, Tom Brady last game.
Oh yeah, his rushing.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That was a bad beat.
I'm glad we've never gotten in that situation, because I feel like if you do, you never play those ever again.
Yeah. So I think my favorite play today, I'm also gonna go with a prop. I'm gonna go Taylor Heineke over 288.5 rushing plus passing yards. And the reason for that is the Chiefs have been allowing a lot of running quarterbacks to run for a lot of yards. Lamar Jackson was over 100 yards. Jalen Hurts was in the 40s. Who was it last week? Josh Allen was in the 40s. And a bunch of quarterbacks, I think every quarterback except for Lamar, has thrown for 275 plus against the Chiefs, with a lot of guys in like the 300s and 400s. So every quarterback that they've played this year has hit this number, rushing plus passing. And I think that until the Chiefs show us something that makes us think that they can stop quarterbacks, I think betting these overs with these second-tier quarterbacks with deflated numbers is going to be an excellent value spot. We had it with Hurts a couple weeks ago where we took his passing over 237, and he threw for more than 350. And I think that Heineke's in a similar boat this week.
And guys, the Chiefs have, I think, the worst defense in football. And when I say think, there's a few different ways you can look at those metrics, right? But I think arguably they have the worst defense in football right now.
Yeah.
So
It's certainly not good.
yeah. And Nick, the other part about that too is guys like Sorensen, I mentioned this to you, but there's a montage of Tyrann Mathieu literally just throwing up his hands because he has been beat so often.
Damn.
It's just funny. That's just the microcosm of their season.
Yeah, I think Sorensen is really good in run defense.
Yeah, he's almost like
But-
a more of a almost like a linebacker. Well, he plays up and he's undersized for a linebacker, but you kind of mentioned it, right? Like,
Yeah,
he's not.
he's like
supposed
a
to be-
hybrid, not a pure coverage safety. Also, Jacksonville with the dub.
What? Guess who bet the money line, baby?
Was it you?
Yeah, but it was a sprinkle, like Trent would say.
A little sprinkle?
Yeah. See, the reason why I hate the sprinkle like term is because if it doesn't hit, you're like, it was just a sprinkle, right?
Yeah, it gives you an out.
Yeah, but if it hits, you're like, I bet it. Right.
Yeah.
Unless you mention you sprinkled it. Man,
Yeah, it's a cop out.
Urban Meyer's going to get lit tonight in Jacksonville. London. He's not going to make it back to Jacksonville. He's going to get too drunk.
Yeah.
No, actually, he needs to go straight to the chapel. Tim Tebow's going to be waiting for him there.
Mm-hmm. All right, so T. Cherry, I DFS lineup evaluation.
Yeah, this is.
I
He's paying us for this.
Is he?
Well, kinda. Ish.
Ish.
Indirectly.
Indirectly. Let's see.
Can you pull it up on screen?
Yeah. All right. So Joe Burrow with Tyler Boyd. You see, I don't know why you keep asking me to do this. I feel like I gave you terrible advice last week. Especially with Jefferson
Maybe
versus
fading
Thielen.
you.
Yeah, I mean maybe I'm like the fade god,
The Trent?
the Trent. Oh, I don't think so.
Nah.
I'm a good DFS player. But I feel like I'm better at like evaluating a certain couple guys that are going to have good weeks as opposed to like bringing in a new player and knowing how he's going to do. Like if I don't have a good read on them, it's a coin flip. But it looks like we got Burrow, Swift, Boyd from that game. I like the construction there. I like the quarterback and the receiver running it back with the running back on the other side. I think that's a good game to target. I think the over there is a good look. I like the back on Detroit. So I think those are good. Henderson against the Giants. Also like that. Pittman. So Pittman scares me a tiny bit just because I think T.Y. Hilton is back this week. Although I think Pittman is still going to be the number one
You sure about that?
in the offense. No, I'm not sure about that. I think he was activated off IR. I know that. My dog's making all kinds of weird noises.
I have looked it up.
But I think T.Y. Hilton's playing. I mean, I don't think he's going to be like a huge snap and target hog. Darren Waller, love it. Marquise Brown. It could be like a sneaky good week for Marquise Brown. I think that he's like, because with Bateman back, I feel like the hype isn't there for Brown, despite him having played quite well. And Keenan Allen, I think it's a good spot for him too. And again, I like running the receiver back, one on each team. So if it's a high scoring game, they both get some action. And then Rams defense against the Giants feels pretty chalky, but should be a good spot for them this week. And pairing a defense with the running back is a good look. So yeah, I like this lineup.
Yeah, and I also like Keenan Allen's value too. Because he's been quieter, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you know that there's going to be a volume there. So what would you say? I'm kind of out the DFS life as it used to be, but what's like an average? Well, I shouldn't say average, but 8,000 though. That's when it starts to get pricey, right?
Yeah, well, and it's all about value. Mm-hmm. So you just want a certain multiple of the price back in points.
But when you say this feels a little chalk, though?
It does feel a little chalk. It's probably not a GPP winning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe. I think the construction kind of gets you around the chalkiness. Because there is a lot of correlated plays, which is good. That's what you want in a tournament.
Yeah. You're okay with being last if you're okay with the upside of being first, right?
Yeah. So the game that I went all in on in my lineup, I wasn't able to spend a ton of time on it. But I have a ton of guys from the Chiefs Washington football team game. I ran a triple WFT stack.
Oh wow.
With Heineke, McLaurin, and JD McKissick.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a McKissick game. Receiving back against the Chiefs. I think it's a good spot for McKissick. And then I have Darrell Williams and Travis Kelce from the Chiefs. Like I think this is going to be a shootout.
What is McKissick's price?
On DraftKings, McKissick is at 4,800. And 4K is minimum price for a back. He's a boomer bust guy. He's got a 20-pointer and a 17-pointer, and then 3 games under 6. Yeah, I think that wraps up the stream for today. We got games kicking off in a little under 4 minutes. So thank you all, as always, for being here. We appreciate all of you very much. We'll be back tomorrow night at 4:30 or 5. Or to be determined.
That's TBD.
TBD.
And also, what game?
Is tomorrow. It's the Bills.
Oh, the Bills. Okay.
So yeah, we'll see you at either 4:30 or 5 o'clock. We'll let you know ahead of time.
Anyone, Nick?
No, it's just a scrimmage. They're playing themselves.
Hey, you can bet on props that way.
Yeah. No, the Bills are playing the Titans.
There we go. Alrighty.
Yeah, so we'll see you then.
We'll see you tomorrow, guys.
Yeah, and good luck, as always, with the bets today.
See ya.
Later.